Good morning, my name is Michael Hogan. I'm the Emeritus Chair of the Humanities Department for the American School Foundation of Guadalajara. This is my 28th year working at the school, and looks like it will be my last year teaching here, although I'll still be a consultant to the school and to the College Board and the Office of Overseas Schools for the State Department. Before I leave, I just want to highlight a couple of things that have happened during my 28 years that we can reflect on, and because they're still continuing to this day. The first is the foundation of the magazine Sin Fronteras, which I began in 1991, and it still continues today to be an award-winning magazine. It's won something like 26 consecutive awards from the National Council of English Teachers, including 3 times the best bilingual magazine of all overseas schools, including Europe, Asia, and Latin America. The second accomplishment, I think, really important, is the foundation of the Advanced Placement Program. We started that in 1990, and at one point we had the largest APUSH class outside of the United States, and we still have 14 advanced placement classes at the school. I really enjoyed my tenure here at the school. This past year I've been teaching AP Capstone, which is another course that this school has modeled for the rest of the world. I'm going to miss the students, but I'll still see them from time to time as I mentor AP Capstone students for their senior year next year. God bless you all, and thank you. Well, I'm a little sad because I've come to love so many of the kids that I've taught over the past 28 years. But of course, the students themselves move on. They go on to universities and they go on to other things. As a writer and a researcher, I also found my students to inspire me. One of the things I concentrated on the past 3 or 4 years was the Capstone program, which is a research program. And I told my students that for every 5,000 words that you write, I'll write 50,000. And I kept a chart on the board day by day, how many words every student was writing and how many I was writing as well. So my students inspired me and kept me focused on my own work outside of school as well. Well, this is like my 3rd retirement. I retired once before in 2004, and I went to work for the State Department and the Office of Overseas Schools and visited over 30 countries in 10 years. And then when I came back, I ran into Mr. McGrath, and he said, "I see you around all the time. How about teaching one course in the mornings now that you're back?" And I started teaching world history for the 9th grade, and then AP World History for the 10th grade, and then ultimately APUSH for the 11th grade, and then Capstone. So that's my 2nd retirement, so this would be my 3rd retirement, I guess. And I always find something to do. I don't play golf, so I don't, and I don't like the beach very much, but I do really enjoy historical research. I enjoy travel. And I enjoy being on campus. I have an office here, and so I enjoy being on campus and talking to students. And I also work with the College Board on developing access to international universities. Yeah, I was just showing you a draft of a new book I have called The Gringos Who Fought for Mexico. And it's about the volunteers, both the colored soldiers who were discharged after the Civil War, and another group of volunteers called the American Legion of Honor, who fought with Juarez against Maximilian to get rid of the French. They fought at the Battle of Querétaro and also at the Siege of Mexico City. And it's a story that really hasn't been told, and I'm working on that right now. And it also shows the development of weapons during the 1860s, which is kind of interesting. And I've been working with the Colegio Militar here in Mexico, and also the Asociación de Historia Militar, and General Cleva Chavez Marin on that book. Yeah, well, when I came here in 1990, I came here in a 2-year contract, and I didn't intend to stay but I was just so fascinated by the history of Mexico and by the culture, and also by the fact that many true facts about Mexico were not being taught in the schools. And as I began to do research and discover things, I began sharing with my students, and many students told me, why don't you write a book about what you're discovering? And as I began to write the books, I found that they became very popular. Last week, for example, we presented in Ajijic, and 350 people attended as I told them the story of the Irish soldiers of Mexico, the San Patricio Battalion. And as a result of that book, we now have gold letters in the Congreso that say Héroes de la República, la Batallón de San Patricio, underneath Juarez and all the other heroes of Mexico. So it's really interesting to see how history can be expanded, because there's so many things we don't know and haven't said. I was offered a 2-year contract, and in the contract it said that I would start a literary magazine and I would begin the advanced placement program. And I realized once I got here that you can't really accomplish that in 2 years. If you want an award-winning magazine, you have to invest a lot of time and energy in it. As Mr. Chase will tell you, you have to invest a lot of time and energy in it, and you just can't do it in 2 years. And the same thing with the advanced placement program. We started out with just one class, and now we have 14. But it takes time to develop that. And the other thing is I really, really enjoy, and I've been to 36 different American schools abroad, working with the State Department. And I really, really enjoy the American School of Guadalajara. The kids here are very friendly. The parents are accessible. I've never had a boring day since I've been teaching here. Always is something lively, something happening. And even the walk to school in the mornings, my house is about 5 blocks from here. And as I walk to school each morning, neighbors say, "Buenos días, maestro, ¿cómo está, profe?" And I feel really warm and good when I come to school. Yeah, I'm married to Lucinda Mayo, and she's a textile artist. And we also have a dog, Molly Malone, and she's a really beautiful shepherd. I have 2 children, and I have 2 grandchildren, and I have a great-grandson. I think it's been a disaster, on almost every level. And as a humanist and as a thinker, I'm really, really saddened by the discouragement of education, by the discouragement of the humanities. He's now decided to cut the National Endowment for the Humanities and cut the National Endowment for the Arts. So there'll be less funding for education, less funding for cultural programs. Not to mention, the ridiculousness of the wall proposal and his disastrous dealings with people abroad. This will be the one I'm working on now is my 25th. I've written 24 books.
Oh, that's great.
And some are easier than others. The Irish Soldiers of Mexico took 6 years because I visited all the battle sites. I had to learn Spanish because I had to translate documents from 19th century Spanish, and so that was really, really time consuming. I guess the most challenging is always the one you're doing last, and the most challenging for me has been the AP capstone. And the reason for it is all the other classes have a curriculum, like A-Push, you're teaching U.S. history, World history, you're teaching world history, literature, you're teaching literature. In capstone, you're not teaching one specific thing. Like this year, one student was working on juvenile detention centers and how they can be improved. Another student was working on how to shorten school periods and how to make a later start with the school year. Another student was writing on poetry as therapy and how it can be used for feelings of depression and loneliness. Everyone was writing on a different project and a different subject and doing different research. And to keep current with that, I had to learn what they were doing as they learned it. And so that was really challenging and difficult, but also interesting. It was never boring. Well, I don't know. I think probably, and this is very personal, but I think probably the last group that graduated last year. And the reason for that is, Daniel Soberanes and all of those, And I think the reason for that is I taught them in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. And when you're with a group for 4 years in a row, they've got to be your favorites. I think what's moved me the most is the abrazos I receive from my students. A couple of times I've had deaths in the family and had to go back to the United States, and I remember students lining up outside the classroom to give me an abrazo as I left for my plane.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
President.